With lasers. With lasers.
Hey guys, Combo 16 here, and this is my Demonology Warlock DPS guide. Let's start with talents. Most of these talents are 100% optional, with really the exception of these level 75 talents. Grimoire of Service is the best one for DPS. It adds an extra cooldown, and it does a lot of damage. Grimoire of Supremacy is still viable, but you are losing DPS with this. Although your pet is doing more DPS, you, as a Warlock, overall is doing less DPS than Grimoire of Service. Grimoire of Sacrifice is not viable at all for Demonology, the reason being when you sacrifice your pet, you lose Demonic Fury. Now, I am going to assume we all know the Warlock Changes with 5.0. This is 5.0, by the way. It's August 31st. I am on the PTR for the sake of having better gear and having hit rating. And the patch came out on the 28th, and today's the 31st. Your pet's ability, Legion Strike, gives the master 12 Demonic Fury every time. So if you don't have a pet, you're losing Demonic Fury. When you don't have enough Demonic Fury, you're losing DPS. Because Demonic Fury is spent when you are in Metamorphosis form. You have all of your abilities now cost Demonic Fury. There's a lot of changes with this. Your spells all change, all of your main spells, and they all have different but similar function. While I gain some more Demonic Fury, let me move on to Glyphs. I'll get back to that. All of these glyphs are mainly optional, with the exception of Imp Swarm. This, again, adds a cooldown to your rotation. This means this is way higher DPS than any of the other options. Anything else is really optional, depending on what you want to do. The main thing that is not optional at all, and to at all costs stay away from, is Everlasting Affliction. Since we have Corruption and Doom on the target 100% of the time anyway, getting this talent basically says you are choosing to do less DPS. The only exception to this, and the only reason you would want to get this, is if you're brand new to Warlock and brand new to Demo or Affliction, and you're just not good at keeping dot uptime. This helps you with that. But eventually you want to get rid of this glyph. This is a very terrible glyph for anybody who's in the raiding scene, even if you're not hardcore every week, every day, even if you're just kind of more casual, this is still not a good glyph. Now that we have my Demonic Fury back, let me go over the main changes to these spells. In the beginning of my rotation, I pop Metamorphosis for 2 reasons. 1, to put this spell Aura of Elements on myself. This means any enemy who's standing within 20 yards of me has Curse of Elements on them. So if I get closer to this target, he now has the aura. The other reason is to put Doom on my target as quickly as I can. It is a high damage spell. You want to get that up as soon as you possibly can. This is the new Bane of Doom, a Demo Warlock only ability now. You can only and that's what your corruption is. You can only activate it when you go into Metamorphosis. After that, once you pop out of Metamorphosis, let me get my pet attack in this target. I like to pop 2 Hand of Gul'dans right away, then Corruption, then Shadow Bolt. Then whenever any Molten Core procs, you use Soulfire, Wrath Storm if it's available, Hand of Gul'dan, keep that Corruption up, it's about to fall off, and you could do this with Fel Flame. I tend not to use it. I don't know why. It's probably DPS loss not to use it, but this is how I am. So right now I have 500 Demonic Fury and my character now has horns. This indicates that I'm over a halfway mark. You want to keep your Molten Core procs. You do not want to spend them. We will spend these when we get into our cooldown phase. Otherwise, just keep on with the normal rotation. I know I'm not doing it here, but this is just for testing or for explanation purposes. Otherwise, just go on with normal rotation, exception of Soulfire. Now, when I have around 800, actually right at 800 is when I like to pop my second Metamorphosis. I pop this with all of my cooldowns. Demon Soul, or Dark Soul, Metamorphosis, my Imp Swarm, and my felguard ability, my second felguard. Now, in this form, you want to use all of your Soulfires. Right now I have 4 stacked up. So you want to dump them all right here. And as you can see, I'm getting more as I'm casting them. When those are gone, you want to use Chaos Wave off cooldown, refresh Doom if needed. I have another Soulfire, so you're going to use that whenever. And then when you don't have anything, so this is an auto attack right here. This animation is an auto attack. They're white hits. These are white hits. This is your auto attack. It's like a ranged ability now. But if no Soulfires are proccing and no Chaos, and you have Chaos Wave on cooldown and Doom is refreshed, you just want to spam Touch of Chaos, your Shadow Bolt ability. This is going to dump all of your Demonic Fury back into your normal form. So once you get back into your normal form, just keep doing it until you're back. So once you're in your normal form, just continue back with your normal rotation. Soulfires when you need to, or when you can. Hand of Gul'dan when you're able to. Refresh Corruption if needed. And spam Shadow Bolt. That's basically it. Actually, that is it. One thing that I want to mention about Demonology Warlocks is I find that they go insanely quickly. So I think one of the over a boss fight, you can really only do the whole rotation with the cooldowns popped and the second Metamorphosis. I find you can only really do that twice before you go 100% and some boss fights last a lot longer. So I recommend being a Blood Elf for Arcane Torrent, or maybe even a Gnome if you're Alliance for the extra mana pool. Otherwise, all races are optional, but if you really want to get down to the nitty gritty, I think being a Blood Elf or a Gnome is best. Macros, there's really only a few. Shadow Bolt, you're definitely going to want this. And what this does is that whenever I cast Shadow Bolt, it tells my pet to use his Mortal Cleave or Legion Strike if it's a Wrathguard or a felguard. Now he does auto attack with it, like he uses it on cooldown for the most part. But right here, if you're looking at my pet's energy, he won't use it, even though it costs only 60 fel energy, he does not use it unless he has 100 fel energy. So not only is this a DPS loss for your pet, it's a DPS loss for you, because you are not generating Demonic Fury since he is not using it. So if I bind it into Shadow Bolt, he uses it whenever I Shadow Bolt. So if you watch his energy here, it's going to go down, and I'm casting Shadow Bolt. So he uses it on cooldown whenever I cast Shadow Bolt. You can bind it to whatever spell you want. I just use Shadow Bolt because it's a filler spell. Other macros are your cooldown macros, which is popping Dark Soul, popping Imp Swarm, any trinkets, second Metamorphosis, and Lifeblood if you have it. I have it on my main. I do not have it on this guy. So that is useless. This corruption macro I don't use anymore, but it basically says whenever I cast corruption, I tell my pet to attack that target. So if I'm swapping targets, whenever I cast corruption, my pet swaps with me. Fell Flame does the same thing. Now, Wrath Storm or Fell Storm macro, there is a ability in here called Command Demon. When I have my felguard out, it tells him to use his Fell Storm ability. The problem with this is if I'm doing an AoE fight and I'm using Drain Life, or Harvest Life rather, and my pet's attacking, and if I use Command Demon to tell him to use Fellstorm, watch my channel bar, it goes away. The macro, where it's just telling it to cast your pet's Fellstorm ability without using Command Demon, this problem does not occur at all. So if you're using a channeled spell and you use Command Demon, it interrupts it. Whereas with the macro, that is no longer the case. Really, that's everything. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's everything. Notice that I didn't use Doomguard or Infernal, and the reason for that is because I didn't want to have to wait for them to go off cooldown if I wanted to test a second time. So I did not use those. My DPS that I peaked around in the beginning of the video was 28.8k. Now that is 100% self-buffed. I am fully gemmed and fully enchanted with Firelands gear, and with the current gear and enchants that I have and gems, I think that is really, really good. 28.8k DPS, basically 29k DPS, self-buffed on raid target. I didn't have a food buff. I didn't have potions. I didn't have an elixir. That's just pure on my own. No one intervening. So I think that's amazingly well. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's everything.